We had more, judging from the excitement behind this call, how many people signed up. I don't need to introduce this woman to you. I have personally, I was in her presence a few months ago, and it was just like angels had moved into the room. And that's one of the strongest things that I can say. There was just this massive, powerful, energetic presence. And I said, what can I do to get that more into the world? That's what we need, exactly this type of energy. And I could tell you a lot about her professional qualifications and things, and that's all very important. But who she is I think the reason why all of us are so excited about her, why we want to spend time with her, why we want to learn from her, and why we're going to look forward to diving deep as she shares things with us today in a conversation about sexual healing, which she is an absolute expert at, having many years of experience in that. So with that, Triambika has prepared something for us to start, and I will just, oh, and yeah, I'm Ryan Orrock, for those of you who don't know me.
You're right.
And I am passionate about this whole area of healing the world, sexuality, relationships, have my bumps and bruises, and have learned a lot, and want to share that and also support you in sharing that as well. So that's part of what this is about. I'm trying to always gather resources and provide ways for us to connect more deeply, serve one another, and find out how to go to the next level, how to serve better, reach more people, and be more successful while doing that. So with that, I will turn the time over to you.
Oh, Ryan, thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I'm so glad that we get to do this together and we get to be here right now and presenting this material, and just really appreciating you for being here and being the wise tech person and more, and the wisdom that you bring too. So I'm looking forward to sharing in this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I sat in meditation this morning and was really feeling into our webinar today, and realized that one of the things that was so important to me that I really wanted to get across right off the bat is, we're all here for the same reason, right? We either are already sexual healers, we are curious about this path, we want to walk this path, or maybe we've had our own big experience with sexual healing and we want to know more about it. And for those of us who are on this journey, working with people in this way. All right. So as I was saying, we are all acting as guides and catalysts for another person's personal sexual healing journey. And that is truly, truly a sacred act. We all need to be present to, first and foremost, that we are working with very precious and tender territory, that no matter how mature or upright or together a person might seem, we are getting the privilege to touch them literally in the most intimate parts of their being. And that is something to be treasured, to be honored, to be acknowledged, and it's just essential that we see it as and we relate to it as a sacred act, that it is divine to be able to connect with the person in this way, that it is an act of union to touch them and take them on this journey. So as far as what do we know and what do we don't know, what do we need to know as sexual healers, I need to start right there. I need to start with this is sacred material, and we want to make sure to have that as the foundation. Whatever you do to align yourself in your in your present state, to align yourself with your guides, your allies, your angels, whatever you do, it doesn't matter. But come into that alignment first before approaching anyone, before having anyone come to your door and being present for them. So that's where I want to start, because I think that's the beginning of all of it is aligning ourselves to the sacred intention of what we're doing.
Thank you. And I would like to invite everybody just to take a moment to breathe that in. And allow that to really sink in what she's expressing, and feel the sacredness of her expression, of her energy around that. And then once you've done that, maybe we should dive in with exactly how to do that. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. So you've been working a lot of years, and I know that there's differences from how people get into this. Sometimes people come from more working in a sexual intimacy sphere, and then they say, I want to add something more to it, deeper to it. I know also that there's many people who are healers, and a lot of people are coming to them with sexual issues, and they're coming into it from that direction, trying to learn, what can I do to help people with their sexuality? So the first thing I would wonder is, how do we begin talking to people? How do we guide the conversation so that we can be more effective? What do you have to say about that?
Okay, well, so I get that, there's all different types of practitioners probably on the call right now. And, everyone's at different levels. And so how each of you goes about screening your clients, it's an individual thing for everybody. I firmly believe that having some time where you're either on the phone or in person with your prospective client, and really drawing them out, like drawing out their deepest desires. So it's not enough to just stop at, kind of the surface reason why they came. Like, a person might tell you this is why they're coming, and I choose not to stop there. I choose to go deeper. I want to dig deeper, and draw their truest intentions, maybe even intentions that they weren't even aware of. So basically asking, what do you really, 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 really want? And, when, usually when the stuff about their the performance, what they want to improve, or the stuff around their shame or inadequacy, when we put that aside, or even, what needs they want to have met in the moment, it's really like, okay, well, that's great. That's awesome. And that's important. But what do you want as a result of that? Like, once you have that, if you got to have that great bodywork session, and if you got to be touched or connect with the divine feminine, or learn to master your ejaculations, or maybe heal the wounding from the rape or the trauma or whatever happened, what would be possible then? What would that make possible in your life? What would you be able to achieve as a result of that? So being able to create a full board questionnaire that, like an intake that really draws a person out, helps you get to know them step by step, personal things about their life. Don't be afraid to ask if they're married. Don't be afraid to ask, if they have children. Don't be afraid to ask about their spiritual or religious background. Like, you kind of need to know this. Not kind of. You really do need to know this, because all of these things play a part in this person's life experience, right? And so, I think that starting out with some of these questions that help you get to know who they are, help you get to know a little bit about the perspective from sort of the point of view that they're having, right? The place from which they're standing, that they're looking down at their life and saying, this is how I see my life because I am X amount of years old, or I've been married this many years, or I have this many children, all the things that play into a part to tell you more about how it is that they're seeing their life experience. And then from there, getting a clear sense of what they're wanting, and then asking more. Like, and what else? And what else? And if you had that, what would that look like? What would that feel like? What would that make possible for you in your life? So what you're going to get to receive as a result of this is, as a practitioner, it's like you get to hear things from them that was not available to you when they just said that they wanted them for X, Y, and Z reason, right? Suddenly you get to hear from them their dreams, their fears, their sort of their higher intention that wasn't even available to them when they called you. Some of the things that I've heard in my sessions when I have, really drawn my clients out, things like maybe somebody just wanted something really simple. They just wanted to be touched and connect and feel connection and, have some nice body work, something really simple like that. And as I drew one person out, his name was Adam. And Adam was, a pretty simple guy. He didn't have a lot of big requests. But as I drew out what he really wanted, I got to understand that as a result of the work that we would do together, he was hoping to experience more peace and more calm in his life, more ease. And as a result of having more peace and calm, he would be able to think more clearly as to the things that he wanted to do that didn't have to do with work. So not work, but like maybe be in just enough ease and peace with himself that he could look towards more of his creative self. And I found out in that conversation that he loves to paint, and he's not painting enough in his life. And I asked him about what painting did for him. And it just opens up this whole world of possibilities for him that he gets to just feel more expansive, and he gets to sort of dive into this other world where, he sees himself as this great artist, and like the confidence that he builds by allowing people to see his paintings. I mean, it just like went on and on. And this was all out of just someone who said he just wanted to be touched and receive some body work and receive some feminine contact.
Beautiful story.
Thank you. I love that. That's one of many that, of what happens as a result of really drawing someone out. And that's what you're making possible as a sexual healer.
Can I jump in here with a couple questions and some? Yeah, I love what you're saying. And I think one idea is, what is a healer? And one of my coaches calls himself an evolutionary guide, Jason, right? So what is a guide, and how is that different than a healer or a coach? I think what we're used to in our world is even kind of the traditional doctor model. You go to a doctor, okay, I broke my arm. Okay, we're going to fix your arm, send you off, everything's fine. And Patch Adams in his clinic, when someone comes in, he has a 4-hour-long intake process where he's asking all these questions. Well, how's your relationship? How's your job? You have cancer. Let's talk about how you feel about your children, et cetera, right? And there's a deep process of getting to know the whole person. We have this idea holistic, right? And I think the question is whether you're going to spend an hour with someone or a day or 6 months in a transformational program, you guys want to have a relationship that works. You want to understand each other. And I hear a lot of sexual healers saying, oh my goodness, I'm doing this work. Somebody said they want to come for a session, but I don't like their energy. I don't like how I was approached. What do I do? And what I hear you saying is, really check in and find out who this person is. Find out if there's a match for you. Find out how you can serve them is another thing, before you just dive in and say, okay, welcome, get on the table, let's go.
Absolutely. Yeah, way before they get on your table. It's good to know exactly who they are, and if they're a match for you. And I think that sometimes we may not know for sure if a person is a match for us if we haven't given them a chance to really reveal them to us. Mm-hmm. Right. So, some people have social anxieties. Some people aren't as articulate as you are. Some people don't have the same vocabulary. And so when they call on the phone, they may not sound like your ideal client at first. But when you start drawing them out and, be willing to ask the deeper questions. I mean, they're coming to see you for a very intimate service. It's okay to ask. And if it's not okay with them that you're asking, then they're not the right client for you.
Right.
Simple as that.
And someone asked in the chat room, do you have a template intake form that you use?
I do, and I don't. I do have some. I do have some guideline questions that I use, and then I also let it flow. Let it. With whatever's coming up in the conversation, I might have new questions that come up. So it's got to be a little bit yeah, it's got to be a little bit organic, not just this is what we're doing.
Right. And there's, and do you like send people a lot of questions beforehand, or is that part of your application process, or is it more when they show up that you're interviewing them?
You know, through the years, I've done a lot of different things. And I think in the end, it's going to be whatever works for you as a practitioner, for whoever's listening. But for many years, and even now, I do have a small intake on my website. So people can contact me through the website and then answer the questions. And from there, we can sort of get a general sense of what they're wanting. And then we go, you know, into a phone conversation from there. I think that if you're trying to create several levels of separation and protection, personal protection and safety, and you want to just associate with someone on email, let them answer first before you even contact them, that's fine. That's fair enough. That's the way you need to do it. There have been other times where, you know, maybe I'm not as busy. I can handle just receiving phone calls, and then I just take it on the phone and, you know, speak to them then at that time. And then ask my questions then. But I want to preface that you want to let a person know that you're going to ask them questions. So it's good to let them know, you know, we're going to need at least 20 minutes on the phone. And I'm going to ask you some questions to help me get to know you better so that I can learn how I can best serve you.
Huge area that you just talked about. We're not going to have time to go into that completely, but the question is your boundaries, your personal boundaries, what you're offering as a service, and the whole idea of pre-framing or safe boarding, meaning really saying what's going to happen before it happens and you controlling the flow of that experience for them. And I also find that a lot of people expect the client to kind of say what they want and that's what they get. No, your job is to serve the client best. Your job is to give them what they need. So that may or may not be exactly their visualization of it. You know, they may have heard, well, my back hurts, so I need to go to a chiropractor and looking for it. They're looking for that, but actually they need more craniosacral work or something similar. So what you want to do is really get enough information from them to find out the best way to serve them.
Yeah.
And that's all around pre-framing, that I'll be guiding you, I'll be asking you some questions. And knowing what will fit to you or what is it best to recommend to somebody else.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, and recognizing that not every person is for you. Not every client, you know, just because they're calling, it doesn't matter how desperate you might be for clients in that moment. They might not all be for you. I can remember a person that I spoke to that through my inquiry, he let me know that he was on a number of antipsychotic medications. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist and I'm not trained to work at that level with someone on that much medication. And I just kindly referred him to someone else. It's always good to have a therapist to refer people to if that's what it feels like is needed. Or even another practitioner that you know focuses more on in the areas that that person wants.
Right. Excellent questions. Medications and.
Yeah. Oh, that is one of the questions, by the way, on the intake. You know,
Yeah.
Are you on any medications that I would need to know about?
Yeah. And often, are you seeing a therapist? If so, what are you working on with them? You know, you want to make sure you're not making waves in places where they're trying to make them smooth at that time, you know, and make sure that they're, you know, part of them may want to be here and part of them want to be here. You have to make sure that's kind of all considered. And what I find as well is that the questions, I don't know if you find this, but the further I've been getting in this work, the less I've been doing the templated questions thing, like you said, except for my questions have been getting very, very simple. My questions now are, who do you see yourself, or who are you is my first question, almost always. Who are you? And then they provide a description. And just like you said, I usually ask the question a couple more times. And then every time I ask that question, it goes deeper. Or who do you want to be seen as in the world? You know, really getting to the most global issues that you can, because as we're going to talk about in a little bit, this gives you the background and the foundation to develop a relationship that can last long term, where you can take them through serious transformation and not just a brief experience. Is that how would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. Is
Yes.
that how you
Which
experience it?
yeah, definitely. I mean, that you know, what you just said in in your last sentence there, it kind of brings me to the second point that I wanted to bring in. I think one of the things that I saw, and I mean, I've been doing this type of work, sexual healing work, for many, many years. And I'll tell you, one of the frustrations that I experienced in the work is when somebody contacts me who clearly wants to grow, clearly has, you know, sees something bigger for themselves, sees the next step, sees, you know, and the questions that I ask obviously evoke the person sharing more of what they really want in life, right? So here, now I've got all this information, and they see me for one session, and then I don't see them again for months. So, you
Oh
know,
my
the
God,
first,
what can I do for them, right? I mean, I just have to say this because this energy, I feel I could help you so much. I could help you do so much. And, you know, yeah, so that's
right. It's like, well, that's great. I love that you want all this amazing stuff. I can help you with that. We can go there. I can take you there. Together we can go there. And yet we're not going to accomplish that in 2 or 3 hours. We're just not. So
solve all your relationship issues and your, you know, worries about sexual performance. And no, you're not going to do that in a couple hours.
no, absolutely not. And the frustration of like, I've only got this amount of time. Maybe there's this expectation that you have of what you want to get out of this one session. And so it was very frustrating for me for a long time to work in that way. I want to say that it's really, really powerful, and like the best next step that you can take as a sexual healer, to invite your clients on a journey with you. Invite them either for longer sessions, for a weekend intensive, or for, you know, 3 or 6 months, you know, continual sessions with you, so that you can actually see them from one part of their journey at the beginning to the end of the journey, and see them through to the other side. You know, walk with them, talk with them, take them through. And it's essential that, you know, you start creating a system within your work that can work with these people who want more. Say, hey, listen, I've got just the thing, right? I want to do this. We can do this. I can see you having that. That's not going to happen in one session. Let's commit to, you know, whatever that is for you, whatever that feels comfortable. I say 3 or 6 months, but that's not really reality for everybody. I also firmly believe in intensives, you know, working with someone for an entire weekend, 3-4 days, is a great thing. It depends, you know, for some people, that's what works for them in their schedule, to set aside 3 or 4 days. For other people, you know, consistent sessions for 3 to 6 months, it works better for them. And at the very, very least, is don't do sessions under 2 hours.
Why? Say more about that. Because of what you said, basically. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, a good time is possible in an hour and a half. A great experience is possible in that time. There's no reason why not. But yeah, because we want to start off with grounded experience of themselves, understanding what they're wanting, understanding even their values, and how they want to go about achieving the things that they want. Having that basic framework in the beginning. There's going to be, you know, practices that you want to share with your client, and then there's going to be time that you want to actually spend in the hands-on portion of the work, and the whole experience is a healing journey. It's not just, you know, at the end, right? The whole experience, taking them from like maybe a nervous state to a more calm state, to a more relaxed state, to an open, excited state, to maybe a very emotional state, and then having them transfer out of that emotional state back into ease and groundedness. That doesn't happen in 60 minutes. You know, it doesn't happen in 90 minutes. It could, but not usually.
that will be hurried, right? And that the huge
Yeah.
topic of state management. This is what also you find out. Someone comes into the room in space. You know, I mean, there's cycles. We have cycles, obvious ones being menstrual cycles, but we all have cycles in our lives. You know, sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. Someone comes into you for a session, maybe they just barely had the courage to ask for a session, to walk in, and you're meeting them in that place and you're kind of giving them something. Well, a month later, they may be incredibly depressed, really having issues, and they need someone then. And the point is for you to help them to commit when they're at that high place, when they're looking for help, when they're asking for help, to get the help so that when that low place hits, or especially when they're trying to make changes in their lives, all sorts of chaos breaks loose before they find the new level. They have to hit their own challenges and inner demons, demons at the gate, a friend calls them, those monsters, and then you have to be there for them to support them through it. I was so frustrated because I had so many people coming to me and they'd have a big experience, and maybe it was 2 hours, maybe it was 4 hours, maybe it was even longer, but if then something would come up, life would happen. Their family would challenge them, their job, they'd be back with the same negative people, whatever it was, and the energy would just slowly become dissipated and lost until I learned, and this is something I've learned recently, to have these longer term journeys. So we're smoothing things out, and so we're helping you make constant progress. Even a little bit of progress every day is going to put you in a completely different place, much better than jumping up energy. We all know we've been to a weekend workshop and then, you know, a week later life is back to normal, right? So that continual progress and helping them, like you said, that journey across the bridge, all of these metaphors are great for what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting because I exactly with what you're saying, Ryan, I can remember receiving phone calls where somebody hadn't contacted me for months and months, and then they told me, oh, they've just been going through the hardest time, and that's why they didn't call me for so long. It's like, well, that's the time to call, actually. So if we're, in an agreement of time together, then we get to see you through those difficult moments and actually give tools and provide support, when it's most needed. And the best way to do this is to enroll your client in the possibility of who they can be on the other side of this agreement.
Right. Say more about that.
Enroll them in the possibility of who they can be on the other side of this agreement, on first of all, getting to have them explain to you or tell you what is it that they see possible through doing this work with you. What would be possible as a result of having more peace, more ease, more body work, more connection, more sexual healing? What would be the result of that for them, and get really clear on what that is for them. And when they know what's possible for them on the other side of this 3-month, 6-month agreement, weekend agreement, whatever it is, they're much more likely to say, oh, okay, got it. I want that. And if this is what it takes to get there, then let's go there.
Right.
So it's not just the momentary thing. It's where we're heading.
Right. And a lot of times these telephone calls are coming, especially Dakinis, sexual healers. Someone also asked that question, what is a sexual healer? We'll cover that in just a moment. So we'll go through both of our definitions of that. But they think they don't even know what's possible. They have some dream about life. They're profoundly dissatisfied, or they know they want to get to a higher level. And they don't even know that there's someone they can talk to who can help them get there. And that when we're working on sexuality, everything else in life is going to change as well. Like you said, painting. You're not a painting coach, and yet you're helping people paint. Because, you're develop. I've done the same thing. I've had clients all of a sudden start being artistic and painting and drawing and poetry and all sorts of stuff. That wasn't what we were working on, but it's a byproduct. But if I had opened that up at the beginning, and it took me a while to learn this, well, what else would you like to be doing? Well, actually, I'm a poet. I'm an artist. I'm a creator. All right. Well, we can also put that into one of the things that we're working on together, and I'll be supporting you and asking you about that as time goes on.
Yeah. I'm a parent. I'm a mother. I'm a father. I want to be a better parent. That's a big one that comes up a lot. For those who have children, sometimes that where they feel inadequate in their personal, intimate life, it may seem like it has nothing to do with anything else, but actually it does. Becoming more confident, becoming more capable of taking care of oneself in certain arenas in your life do affect how you parent, how you work, your confidence in asking for a raise, all of it.
Right. One person I was
Yeah.
talking to, they're doing this meditation that I taught, and now whenever she's frustrated, her husband will tell her, "Now go do your meditation," because he knows that charges her up. She knows that charges her up. It knows it makes her happy. That improves their entire relationship. And yet, that wasn't what she was showing up for and asking for in the sessions at all. But that relationship bonus was definitely there.
That's great.
Anything else about this topic, or let's answer the question, perhaps?
All right.
So what is a sexual healer? Would you like to start?
Okay. Well, so I know that the word healer has a few negative connotations, and it's just a word. Okay. And what we mean by that word, or what I mean by that word, is that we are catalysts, and we create an environment where healing can take place. I don't believe that I have the palm on the forehead and ability to sort of knock someone down and be healed.
That's funny.
That's not what I'm talking about. It's more about a person who creates an environment where transformation can take place, who creates an environment where that the safety and the ease can show up to facilitate healing to take place. If that person doesn't want to heal, that's just not going to happen, right? And so, not going to happen. As a sexual healer, well, many would think that it is specifically around sexual issues, and indeed, we work a lot with sexual concerns, sexual feelings of inadequacy, feelings around shame, lots of shame, trauma, rape, being inorgasmic, having troubles around ejaculations. I mean, God, I can go on and on about the list of things that people would come to see a sexual healer for. But there's more. Sexual healing also relates to the part of our being that deals with our emotion. If you look at the chakra system, the 7 chakras, those first 2 chakras are very much related to survival and emotion, and sensuality and sexuality too. But our emotional body is innately connected to our sexual self. So we cannot separate the two. If we're going to be doing sexual healing work, we have access to the entire emotional body. And so anything, a broken heart, grief from a parent dying, or anything of the like, is accessible to us through doing this work. And so we're working with emotion, we're working with sexuality, we're working with life force, and we're working with creativity and manifestation in a big way.
So if I'm going to summarize what you just said, a sexual healer is someone who deals with sexual issues that people have, and or utilizes sexual and erotic energy in healing or shifting other things in their lives as well.
Yes, utilizing sexual energy to shift other things in their life.
And this is something that people don't realize, that sexual repression causes all sorts of other issues. Shame, like you said, guilt, fear, simply no expression, no connection. I just read an article that said we're basically all going insane and taking medications because we're lacking connection with others. And of course, sexuality, intimacy, just touch is a huge way that we connect with others, and that's missing. It's an epidemic of what's missing, and just bringing that back into life, or finding ways to express that or connect in that way, can solve a multitude of problems, from depression to all sorts of things. You don't have an amazing orgasm and then say, I want to kill myself. It doesn't. I've never seen it happen. Someone have a mind-blowing orgasm and like, what's the purpose? What's the point? No, they're content.
Maybe, but
they're content to be on the planet at that point. Yeah, totally. Okay, I have another question we're going to push a little bit further for the end, which is good. And are we ready to move on to point 3?
Yeah, well, I'm curious. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about what sexual healer means to you?
Yeah, I mean that is really what I say, because at the beginning I said yes, anorgasmia, vaginismus, premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction. Those are kind of the big terms that get used, and yes, there's doctors who deal with these things, and people like us provide support around these sort of, if you imagine a scale of -0 plus, so if you're in that minus place and things aren't working with relationships, sexuality, then you really want to get things fixed. And a lot of people notice when things start breaking, when we get sick, when we get a disease, we realize, hey, my life is not how I want it to be. Some people have said, cancer was the best thing that happened to me because I changed my whole life after that. I saw what my priorities were. I started spending time with people I loved instead of working all the time, or whatever they say. But a lot of time people see only this minus and they hope they can get to 0. I hope that I can get it up at all. I hope that I can last longer than 2 minutes. And what they don't see is, well, would you like to last 2 hours, 5 hours? Would you like to have massive full body orgasmic experience, not orgastic, orgasmic experiences? Although you can have those too, why not? when the energy is flowing through, and they don't realize that. They don't realize that a lot, but they do realize what you said, the questions you ask around, well, how would your life shift? What would change if you accomplish this thing? They do realize that there's kind of a different person waiting for them at the opposite side. But they don't really see they don't really see clearly what kind of sexual experiences that kind of person would be having or how to get there. So yeah, a lot of times people come with the 0 or minus, hoping to get to the 0. And I'm much happier when someone comes to me at baseline standard society. My opinion is people are living at about 5% of their pleasure potential. And if they come at 5% and say, where can you take me? Then we go into all the things that you and I have practiced for so many years and trained with the greats about, which is moving not only into an orgasmic life that goes up to 70, 80, 90%, which is mind-blowing and life-altering and universe-connecting, but also a life that reflects that. Because sexuality, they say, as a man dances, that's how he is in bed, right? Same thing, as your sexuality is, this is how your expression is in your life very often. Is it chaotic and wild and crazy? Is it very reserved and held back? How is that? And how do we help you make that shift into a greater space of aliveness?
Yeah. I'm forgetting who said the phrase, how you do anything is how you do everything.
Right. There you go.
Right. Yeah. Yes. So true. I'm just thinking of a story of one client, Paul, who had just a lot of fear, feeling a lot of fear and feeling very inadequate around his sexuality. And he was married and just wanted to be a better lover for life and just wanted to feel more confident and less afraid, to be a full hot-blooded man. And as we got deeper in our work together, I began to understand more of his dreams and his values. And he had a lot of big ideas around politics and wanted to get into politics, but was too reserved, just wasn't bringing his whole into the picture. And he started to see the connection. He started to see the connection where this place where he wanted to be more of a full-fledged man, more assertive and feel more confident in the bedroom was affecting his ability to stand up for what he believed in politics. After working with him for about 6 months, he had started school. He was getting a degree in political science, and he was starting to do all sorts of activism work. I can't remember all the details of it, but the point is that this all happened during the time that we were working together, and it was all sort of connected. Living out another aspect of his dream, and at the same time being able to be the extraordinary lover he wanted to be for his wife. I mean, that's living a full life, and that's what's possible for our clients. That's what's possible for us as a result of this work.
Right. I mean, I bet you have 100 stories like that. Lives change all the time when you're diving in deeply. I mean, that can happen from one session, but life changes. But very often, you know, the energy will go up, maybe hit a wall, hit a barrier, and then need more support. So you're much, much more likely to have a much bigger, broader shift if you're working with someone long term, and it's going to hit everywhere in their lives. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so excited. I can talk a mile a minute about this stuff and talk for hours about it, especially with this beautiful woman. But I'll try to slow down. Everyone take a breath, and we'll move to the last question. And this is so important. This deserves its own webinar. This deserves its own weekend training. This deserves its own 6-month coaching program. So, but what is for you? Yeah, do you want to introduce that? What was for you the last talking point that we should mention today?
Yeah, okay. Well, so again, many, many years as a sexual healer, I found my places where I was like, this is kind of frustrating. This doesn't quite meet the model of what we really want to achieve together. And what I'm about to say is that I think in creating a program with one, let's say you're going to work with them for an extended period of time, not every session has to be a hands-on session. In fact, it's almost better that they're not. It works well to have a talking, coaching, teaching session where there's, some practical things that you're doing together, but it doesn't always have to look like I give you body work and then we do this and it ends like this. I can't tell you how many times in my work just this person just got done giving me this amazing intention that they have for their life and for the session. And then it just is sort of going to look the same way and it's going to end the same way. I mean, amazing and wonderful, no doubt, but I just didn't see the point. I'm like, I don't see why we have to end the session in this particular way with my hands on you, on your genitals, which is very wonderful and sacred, and it might be running some amazing energy, but this may not be the best path for the thing that you said you wanted earlier today. So how do we really use the best tools and the best techniques to really serve a person greatly? Hands-on work is awesome. I completely believe in it. My life was transformed through hands-on session work. So I feel like a big yes, high five, do it. Everyone needs to receive this work at some level, at some time in their life. It's not always what's necessary, and it's not always what's helpful. So if you are working with someone for an extended period of time, go ahead and create some sessions where you're just teaching, where you're just coaching, where you're just connecting, and it doesn't have to go to that end place of hands-on work. You get to position yourself as an expert by doing this, right? You have a lot to share. Many of you are on this call, have done a lot of trainings, a lot of your own inner work. You have a lot to share. And it doesn't make sense to limit each session just to body work. Use your whole toolbox. Bring it all in. This is one of the places where, you will get bored as a sexual healer. If you know a lot of stuff and you know that you can help this person, you've got all these tools, but they just don't fit into your 90-minute hands-on session, then it's time to bring those tools in and find a way to use them so that you can serve this person greatly, so that you can really, really see them to the other side of their greatest desires.
Okay, and I'm going to comment about what she just said, because what she talked about is a fundamental journey that you're taking people on. You're like, well, I want to do coaching. I want to do talking. Let me mute here from one side. There we go. I want to do coaching. I want to do talking. I want to take people through a journey. But I'm not getting the opportunity to do that with just hands-on work. Well, the way that you do what she just described is that you frame the whole journey in terms of a longer journey. I'm getting you to this place where you're going to feel confident. You're going to be taking moonlit walks on the beach twice a week. you're really, when you do that visualization work, you're grounding it in 3D reality. So they say, well, I want to be more confident. I want to have more love. They ask for whatever they ask for. But what you need to get to, we'll see if the technical part is still working with you. All right. We'll see if this works.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. So what you want to get to is the 3D results that they want in their life, really connecting that. I'm connecting point 2 to point 3 of what you said, and connecting those 3D results, saying, okay, what would I be seeing, feeling, doing, or experiencing through our journey? And once you have those things, once those are clear, then you can justify, okay, we're going to spend a session where we're talking. We're going to spend a session where we're going to do some eye gazing, some coaching about it. So this is the way that you go from, okay, I'm only doing hands-on sessions and people are only seeing me doing hands-on sessions, to they understand, well, for her to get me over here, we're going to need to do a lot of other stuff as well. And I'm just going to be open for what he or she presents to me when I come into the session. So that was one point. Can I say something else about that?
Yes, of course.
The other thing was, when I did my first sexual healing training, shame, guilt, fear, it was sacred body, passionate spirit was what it was called in England. And what happened was the whole first week was dedicated to inner child work and parents and our relationship with our parents. So, I got there and I'm like, okay, how do I have better sex? But it was like, well, let's go back to the very beginning. Let's do some exercises around your childhood and your parenting and make that all conscious. And then from there, we're going to move up to where you are now in your healing. So when you frame that big journey, you can do that and then take people wherever you feel they need to go to help them have that transition, instead of feeling pressured to do things one way all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And, and I think that it's up to us to train the field of clients in this method, right? It's up to us, because right now there's been a norm, right? There's a big norm in sexual healing work where, you might do a one-off session. Whenever you're ready to have the next one, you have the next one. For some people get, 3 and 4 day intensives. That's awesome. But besides that, it's not really the norm to take through a longer period. The clients that I do that with, I see amazing results with. Not only do I see amazing results, they want to come back for more, right? There's more that they see you and they see your expertise and they see what's possible for them, and they want that. There's nothing wrong with doing a one-off session. I want to make sure that it doesn't, it doesn't come off that way. It's perfectly fine. Sometimes that's all people want. That's all people have time for. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're ready to take your work to the next level, if you're ready to graduate yourself and your clients, to really see results, to make a difference in people's lives, to have a planet that is living out of the place of love, power, and freedom. This is the mission, right? This is what we get to do. We get to take people through this journey in a much longer way and really have someone commit. The moment somebody commits to working with you for a longer period of time, they're committed. They're working on themselves all throughout. It's frustrating to be a crutch, to be someone's crutch. It makes you lots of money. Nothing wrong with making money, right? But if you're really wanting to go to that next level as a sexual healer, being a crutch is just being a crutch, right? So that man who complains about his wife and how miserable he is, and how one day he would like to be able to see himself strong enough to leave, or her leave him, whatever the case may be, if he sees you month after month after month, and every month nothing has changed about his life, well, what good are we doing them? They get really uplifted for a week, maybe a couple weeks. They still feel the glow until it wears off. and then they're back again. And so it's sort of like just on this like hamster wheel. You know, and again, it's like that might be totally suitable for someone. And again, you'll make lots of money off of that client. But why not have clients that are committed to actual transformation, to growing with you, and to having their dreams realized?
Amen. Yes. Aho. Definitely. Yeah, if I can extend on that or a little bit is, you said we're training the norm, and we have cultural understandings. People may know what sensual massage or erotic massage is from someone who may not even speak your language, that you can't communicate with, you know, or FBSM, if they're very cultured. They may know what an escort is and have an idea of that. And people who really have done a lot know what a dakini is and have a little bit of understanding about what a dakini is. But for most people, a dakini means, sadly, a little bit better sensual massage, or a spiritual sensual massage. And if we go back to, I mean, I know you've trained in India with the greats and you know all sorts of things that I don't about this, but my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the idea of a dakini or a daka, which I think we invented, but the dakini is sort of this transformational force in your life. When you look at Kali, when you look at the Hindu gods, you're completely changing. They're destroying your illusions. They're opening you to greater possibility. And, you know, a little bit of the Western idea is a muse or a courtesan or something that we kind of talked about. And or even Japan, what's that word? Anyway,
Geisha?
Geisha, yeah. But the idea is, and it may not be involved with sexuality or sex at all, but there may be this inspiration, this change that happens in you when you get in the energies of another person. This is why we fall in love. This is why we connect to our partners. We're seeking a transformation. We're seeking an experience. We're, you know, even on a subconscious level. And so we're really selling ourselves and our clients and those we care for and want to help short if we're just saying, okay, you show up, you get the bare minimum, lowest common denominator experience. No, here's what I can do for you. If you're willing to dive in deeply with me, if you're willing to climb up on the mountaintop and we go through the experience and invest in yourself, then you're going to get something completely different. And if you're listening to this call, it's your responsibility. You get to decide what people have happen in your space. And this was difficult. I mean, I'm thinking about the time that I had my worst client, my most unpleasant client, we'll say, was the person who called and said, okay, I only want to do an hour. And, you know, it was really short time, didn't want to tell me anything about themselves. And then they showed up and I got treated basically like a piece of meat, a piece of property. You know, my boundaries were violated by that person. And I had to almost stop and kick them out because I didn't create the frame that, no, I don't do that. I guide long-term transformation. I help you make giant changes and shifts in your life. I didn't know how to do that back then. Now I do. Now that wouldn't happen to me. So if you are having things happen to you in sessions, and we got a few excellent questions that we're going to bring in about this in just a moment, that you don't like, if things are happening that you're not appreciating, then you need to shift who you are, who you're showing up is, how you're communicating things, so that people understand, oh my God, I'm in the presence of, like you said at the beginning, a sacred dakini, a spiritual individual, a guide, someone who can show me things about myself that I didn't even dream were possible, and that they can make the decision to really go on that journey with the master or with the guide in that way, or whether they don't, you know, and really giving them that option. And a lot of times we're afraid. We're afraid that if I do that, oh my gosh, I won't have any, like you said, you can make a lot of money doing this. The people that I have seen step into their power this way and work this way, these are the people that I've seen actually make a lot more money and have a lot more success. You know, it may seem like you're giving something up, you're not. When you stop doing the session by session, when you really get to know people, when you take people on those longer journeys, when you dare to be who you truly are, everything will shift financially for you as well as everything else. You know, there may be some kinks to work out, some stuff to learn, but that can be learned, and then you're going to be on a completely different level in professionally, financially, everything else.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm ready for questions.
All right. First question is, and this is, I love that this is being asked, how should we advertise to get the best clients that really want to go deep in this work, not just a one-time sensual session?
Great question. How to advertise.
Thank you, Leslie Grace. Yeah.
um, so it like in any advertising, people are most interested in knowing what you can do for them. So in a average advertising, you might say a lot about yourself and your skills and what makes you special and why you're attractive and different things, all those things, which would draw somebody in who was interested in you being attractive and having, good skills in massage. To really effectively speak to a person that you want to work with, think about the client that you want to work with. Think about who is your absolute ideal of a client. Maybe you already have someone in mind. Put a name on it. Maybe it's Suzanne, maybe it's Gary, maybe it's, you know who that person is. Each of you who are already doing that work. My ideal client is X. And think of what are the needs that he or she has. Like what is the urgent need that Gary has? What is the deep, long desire that Gary has? How can you know more about what is it that this person really, really wants and needs, and speak to that in your advertisement. So speak directly about the things that you can help them solve, the things that you can help him with. That make sense?
That makes sense, I'm sure. And I just want to say what we're doing right now is a very long conversation. And if this is a very big question, how do I talk to people and there's a bunch of steps to this. We have both trained with various people about this. Actually, you have the opportunity, before I forget, before we do questions, let me say, if you would like support from Triambika about doing these things, about learning this stuff, she is offering the possibility to speak with her for free, if I understood right, about this. And you can find out how to go on this path, how to do what she's doing. So I'm just going to post her email. Oops, it came in very big. Oh, no, I won't. Okay, there we go. Post her email in the chat. Shoot her an email. Set up an appointment. You can talk to her, and she'll support you in this journey. Because guess what? The journey you're inviting your clients to go on is a similar journey to the one that you get to go on when you're going from individual sessions to this work. And it can take a couple months to work the kinks out, to figure it all out. It's not something that we can just say, okay, you do this, here's your solution. Because you're an individual, you have individual wants and needs, qualities, skills, etc. That's all going to flow into this. But she's offering the possibility to take you through that. So I would encourage you to contact her for that at that email address.
Yes.
Yeah, and let me just say, we won't have time to fully go into depth and do this question justice here, because again, that's a multi-month process for both of us to learn to make this transition into this space. And we're happy to help people with that now. That's why we're talking like this. That's what this whole thing is about. But yes, there's a presentation that you need that's going to be more in harmony with who you really are. There's a vulnerability that you bring to the world. There's a sort of ideal clientele that you're looking to communicate with and connect to. And you put all those things together and understand your journey and how you make that journey happen for them. And then you can do exactly what she's describing. So.
Yes. And I want to emphasize that you said presentation and vulnerability. Very important. As part of the way that you're showing yourself to the world in your ads, being able to present your realness.
Right. How do I say it? There's a way to present to the shadow. I'm going to do a webinar about this next week. You'll get a link here in just a moment. But there's a way to market to the shadow. There's a way to market to the light. So the shadow, the dark part, that's like what people don't admit about themselves. And, I've had some experiences just posting with anonymous YouTube videos that had erotic content, and also working on the phone in that perspective. And it's very hard to take someone from, they know you as this shadowy figure with a name that isn't your real name, that's offering some sexy look, to, okay, now we're going to do conscious transformational work. It's a very big switch, a paradigm shift for them. So you have to change the presentation into who you really are. Well, that gets incredibly vulnerable, incredibly scary. this is who I am, and presenting that. And I wanted to say, because you mentioned it, um, the significant thing, you may be beautiful, you may be a great masseuse, masseur, but Sean Stevenson, who is a guy I respect a lot, he's 3 feet tall. He's got this disease that made his bones not form, and so he never fully grew. And now he's a motivational speaker. He said, "Who I am on the outside is a maximum of 2% of who I really am. Yes, it counts. This frame, this shape, whatever. But I'm a lot more than that." So the challenge, regardless of whether we're extremely attractive or not so much, is to help people see the rest of that of us, and the transformation that we catalyze for them. And yeah, there may be some initial attraction or something. That's fine. Everybody has a look. We're in a 3D world. And what else can you do? So bringing that out and displaying that, presenting that much more intensely will help you attract those clients. Does that make sense, Leslie?
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, she says yes, thanks. Okay, good. And for those who said I don't have the address, it's ecstaticawareness@gmail.com. For those who are on the phone, ecstaticawareness@gmail.com is Triambika's email. And also you can go to ecstaticawareness.com if for some reason the email isn't working, or you aren't being able to read it from the comments.
Yes.
Just talk to her. Just fill out her contact form. Just send her an email there. Maybe there's a telephone number as well. I don't know, but
yeah. There's a free consultation link on my site, and you can also just email me. But essentially, we'll get to have a free consultation. We'll get to talk more about what it is that you're wanting in your business and in your growth, and sort of flesh that out in a big way, which will be a wonderful process in and of itself. And then, see if there's a fit for us to do some work together.
Right. Excellent. And someone says, do you have advice if a guest tries to push your boundaries? Would you like to speak to that?
Do I have advice about pushing boundaries? Boy, pushing boundaries. Boundaries is a very big topic. Again, another hour. We could do an hour webinar just on boundaries.
That's right. Yeah.
One thing I want to say is, first you have to know what they are.
That's right.
You need to know what your boundaries are, and recognize that boundaries are permeable. Boundaries will change a little depending on who you're in front of. So if with this particular person, your boundaries feel tighter and stronger, then know what they are in advance. When somebody wants to push those boundaries, it's important to have a communication with them and let them know why the boundaries are there, why your boundaries are important to you, because they help you feel safe, essentially. When we have boundaries, we feel safe, and within that safety, we have a lot more freedom. We can move and dance and play and touch all the way to the very far edges of that boundary, and we can feel safe in that. So when you can communicate that with the person that you're working with effectively, that's the best way to go. So that might mean stop whatever's happening. Stop the touching, stop the, maneuvering, stop whatever's happening, take a breath, come into your heart, bring love into your eyes, and speak to him like a human being. Speak to him or her like, hey, we're just two people here, and we just want to have a good time, or have a good experience, or have a healing experience. And here's what I really need. I really need this to feel safe. Would you be willing to help me feel safe? Yeah. And have a real conversation.
Excellent. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Know your boundaries, which is a process in itself. Communicate them. That's what I'm hearing you say. And then reiterate them if they're being violated. And, if they, and then have a process for yourself. If this happens once, what do I do? If it happens twice, what do I do? And know when it's time to really stop and shut things down. And, that may be necessary. Again, this is something you should not be resolving with yourself alone. We had a webinar, and Joseph Kramer was on a couple of weeks ago, and he said professional supervision and weekly working with someone to support him professionally and personally was the reason he is the guy he is today, meaning his invented body electric, sexological body work. He had that. When you have questions like this, don't try to figure them out yourself. Go to someone else who knows what they're doing. Say, mentor. coach me, train me, show me how to do this, and then come in week for week. This happened this week. How do I do my boundaries here? And you'll get a completely different response. Next week, it's a little bit different. Something else happens, you know? This is the biggest message that I have for all of us is stop doing it alone, whatever it is, whether it's marketing or sales or during sessions, becoming a better healer. Start getting support. Invest in yourself. This is going to change your whole life and your entire experience with your business. What are your thoughts on posting your fees or rates? Should I talk about this?
Go ahead.
Okay.
And we probably have similar views.
Yeah, I think we do. You know what? If you want to know, when you go to get your car fixed, you want to know what's wrong with it. Can this person fix it? What will it cost? How long will it take? Those are the questions that you have. If you're posting fees for a result that people don't yet understand, they don't understand what they're even buying. You know, what they if you consider their soul as being broken or needing an upgrade or however you want to look at that, you're going to have that conversation about them, about where they want to go. In general, they have no idea what you can make possible for them before you've had that conversation, or maybe a couple of conversations. So putting a price to something that you don't realize you can even get doesn't make any sense. For that reason, you know, that needs to be the last thing on your mind and their mind until you guys clearly understand where you're going together and how you're going to create that transformation. And then you can talk about, and this is how I'd be willing to catalyze this for you in terms of time and how often sessions, etc. What would you say about that?
Yeah. I mean, same thing. It's like, it's just a number. If you just present it to them that way, it's just a number. If you're doing, I mean, listen, a massage is a massage, and you know what you're going to get with a massage, right? Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you go to see a specialist that's going to give you something really unique and change your whole life. But for the most part, you know that in a massage session, you're going to spend 60 minutes. It's going to be X amount of dollars, and you know, you'll walk out having had a massage. When you are doing transformational work, when you're working with somebody at a deep level, giving someone a dollar amount for the amount of time that you're going to spend with them on your website is just a number. It doesn't make any sense to them. They can decide, oh, that's too much or that's too little. But if you knew that you were going to get all of this transformation, that you were going to have so much more than you could have even imagined, then that number suddenly makes more sense to you, right? Then that number, if it was too high a few minutes ago, suddenly it's like, oh, it's totally worth it if I'm going to get this, right? If this is what's going to come out of it for me. So I wouldn't post the rates on your website. I'd wait to have a conversation with them.
Yeah, and if you really care about people, you want to connect to them and find out how to help them. And only then, after you've taken that first step or two, do you want to talk about, you know, that's just, it's logical and it's emotionally satisfying, and rather than pushing people away with some sort of number at the beginning. Like, I'm concerned about how to market to the light, being myself, above board, provide legitimate life-changing coaching, showing face on website while navigating legal issues. Advice. Again, I know many people who are working in this field, maybe in ways that you're familiar with, maybe not, but who have very public personas out there, posted their description, what they help people with, how they do it. And there's when you start thinking in terms of, there's mental blocks around that. We've got our intellectual barriers to solving specific problems or things we want to do. When we start being creative, especially when we start working with someone else being creative, then we will find ways to make that happen for us and other people. So yes, it can be done. Yes, people are doing it. Again, this is a longer process to talk about what are you doing now, and how to communicate it, how to set it up, how to organize your connection with your clients or your sessions and things to keep things clean for you, ethically, morally, legally, etc.
Mm-hmm. That being said, there is a lot to be said about protecting yourself and all that, and we're not going to get into that in this call.
Right, and feel free to contact either of us for support on all of these things. Araminta asks, welcome Araminta. She says, what are your 3 core self-care practices following sessions, Tree?
Very good. Very good. Great question. Thank you, Araminta. First, my self-care practice before session to be in my ease. So that means that I'm not rushing to do the session. I'm not surfing Facebook incessantly and on my phone right up until the time that the client walks in the door. I've taken time to meditate, to ground, to center myself, to feel whole in myself, to bring in my highest intention for what's about to occur. And all of that is not only taking care of that the session is going to turn out really great, but it's also taking care of me, that I'm going to be in my whole best self when I come into the work. So that is an act of self-care, in my opinion. I think after sessions, getting into some water is really important. Drinking water and getting into water. So if that's a shower for you, if that's a bath for you, if that's a hot tub for you, some way that you can experience the water as purifying you and clearing your space, clearing yourself energetically. And just sort of like rebooting yourself. Water is amazing for that. If you have an ocean near you, go jump in the ocean, come back. Another thing is also important. I mean, like basic self-care things, but basic things that regard self-care. Don't overbook yourself. So try not to have, 3 sessions lined up back to back with 15-minute breaks in between. It's possible you can do that, but you're going to need a lot more time of self-care afterward. So don't book anything first thing the next morning. You know what I mean? Like create space for yourself to recuperate, to regenerate. Definitely spend time with other people besides your clients. So if you've got a lot of clients, you've got a really full practice, take time away, go hang out with some friends, do some singing, do some dancing, move your body. I mean, they're like basic things, right? They're just basic things, but things that help you sort of shake off who you are in the session and come back fully to integrate your whole self, and so that you can bring your whole integrated self back into the session. Right? Does that make sense?
Excellent. And we'll see if she comments. Does it make sense, Araminta? Thank you for the question. She says, thanks, darling.
Love ya.
Excellent stuff. Well, I have seen today, I don't have any more questions. I've seen today as a clarion call, as really a call for us all to up-level what we're doing and to become bigger, better, more professional, make more money, and create bigger changes in people's lives. Thank you so much for presenting all of this for us and having this conversation.
Oh, so my pleasure. So my pleasure. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you, everyone who participated. I was blown away by the response to this, as we had over 50 people online at some time. We have a lot of people that were signed up that couldn't make this time, who are going to be listening to the recording. So thank you, everyone, and really happy that you are devoted to your own personal growth and development in this, and that you're not satisfied with how you are, which is obviously why you showed up today. So thank you. You're inspiring to us. You give us strength to move on, to keep going, to share what we've learned. And so thank you for that. And we're getting a bunch of thank yous and yeah, from everyone. A lot of people are really happy that they participated. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I would almost unmute everyone to say that, but there's so many people, I don't think that'll work. But all right, thank you, everyone. Yeah. And
I want to say one thing real quick is, definitely let's have a conversation. Let's see where you want to go with your work. Let's see how we can take you to the next level, to create more clients that you really want, to make more money, and to have more of the sessions that really inspire you and keep changing the world. And with that, I also want to mention that I'm available for a free consultation. Just contact me. We'll schedule it here in the next month. And just have to say that to go to that next deep level, I'm going to be in Guatemala April 4th through the 10th for the ISTA training. So contact me about Guatemala, because I'd love to see any one of you there. And this will definitely be a training that's going to support you in your practice and in your life. Big time.
Right, Araminta just posted at guatemalatraining.com if you want more information about that. Thank you. Take the advantage. Hang around her. She's amazing. Let her rub off. Learn this stuff. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. And we will see you again, hopefully, for one of these fairly soon.
Wait, you have a webinar coming up too.
Well, yeah, I do have the webinar. I posted the link. Okay, and it's actually Key Coaching Skills for Sexual Healers. I've posted the link a bunch of times. Here it is again. So we're going to be talking about how you add coaching skills or guidance skills to your sexual healing practice. And that will answer some of the questions that you also had people had today. So we're going to go into depth. That is going to be a very long webinar. It's going to go into depth about exactly how I work with people in doing that. And I'm going to show you the software I use. I'm going to show you the techniques I use. I'm going to show you the things that people are practicing with me. I'm going to get really naked virtually during that session.
Yeah.
So you're going to be able to see everything, know everything, and see that entire process. And yeah, that's the next webinar. So please join me for that one. Excited to see you there. And yeah, to keep up with both of us, yeah, you will get, you're on both of our lists now. So unless you want to unsubscribe, but you'll be hearing from both of us this way. So we'll be letting you know about things happening in the future as well. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Namaste. Thanks for being here. Have a great day.
Namaste.
Bye-bye.